Welcome to
What's a block?
Triple Blockheads,
Back set. Block down.
the podcast for all things volleyball.
Blockhead!
Aloha, and welcome to another episode.
Wait. That's my line.
Yeah.
Frank Spald. What's happening?
My bad. That's on me. This is my moment.
Aloha, and
this is my
welcome
moment.
to another episode of Triple Blockheads. We're going to go ahead and get the monkey out of the on the table right away. Frank is bald. The logo will never be the same. But just put a hat on at some point, just to make sure, just for old time's sakes.
Yeah, we definitely can't have two bald volleyballs in the logo. That's not going to work. We can't distinguish between the two of you already. So.
I think it's time for Mark. Mark has no reason to shave his head, but
All right, so go ahead and hit us up on our socials. Should Mark go with the triple blockhead ball heads or not so much?
I have a pretty gnarly head scar from a car wreck that goes all the way around.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I had 20 staples in my head at one point. So you don't want to see me with a shaved head. It would be grotesque and lumpy, I'm sure.
So we're gonna go with Frank with a hat to make sure that we have
Let's
balance.
just stay safe. Frank with the hat.
yeah,
You know.
I still have hats. So they'll make a comeback. We're working on even the tan out. I'm
There you
learning a
go.
lot of things
Yeah.
about the bald life, and I think if anything, our listeners at home, this is a great opportunity to go on YouTube and search Triple Blockheads and hit the subscribe button, and you can now see me bald. I'm doing it for the team. This is great marketing for us. Our YouTube numbers are gonna jump up a little bit.
I love it. Well, we are in the summer, and speaking of summer, we wanted to have a topic on this episode around this period of time in June, right, where you have kind of your clubs have identified where they're going to go in their secondary, their championship level type tournaments. There are college showcases in the club space that are happening at the same time. There's also collegiate teams that are asking for, and finding some athletes to come to their camps during the same exact period of time. So what should an athlete do with all these really great options? And all of those are great options based on your scenario. So Mark, just from your lens, and I think actually a caller or a viewer brought this up to us. And
Absolutely.
talking on it.
Shout out Dennis Rios. Messaged us. I think he's going through that a little bit with his athletes and just wanted to know opinions. And I thought it was really important and pertinent to this period of time right now specifically. So I thought while I replied to him, we could expand this into the episode and get Frank's club director perspective on this as well. From the college side, I will say going to a collegiate camp and being on their campus for a prospect camp is the best way to gain the most amount of information you possibly can about a school to make, if you're going to be asked to make a decision around June 15th. If you're going to have to decide within the first week or two, or even before you have a chance to go on visits in the fall, going to those camps and getting that information can only help your decision making. Okay. That window is really small when you can go. So I don't know if it's possible to go to 5 or 6 camps in June.
Because you can't go in May, right? May's a quiet
Correct.
period for you guys.
Yeah. May is quiet period. We are not allowed to go anywhere. That very last weekend in May, that 30th, 31st, that's when we can start to go back out. So you'll see a lot of clubs that do their college showcase camps on that type of weekend. I was out. Actually, our whole staff was out at different places that weekend doing camps. Those are club showcase where colleges come in and work with you and do whatever. It was a really good analogy I heard from my buddy Mike G. Shout out Mike G at North Pacific Juniors. But I was out there working their camp, and he's like, this is a trailer, right? You get to work with a coach for 10, 15 minutes. It's a trailer. If you like the trailer, you're going to go see the movie, which is going to that camp and getting on their campus. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a really good analogy. I think that's the benefit of those camps. There's a little bit of exposure. I think they're better if you're younger. You know what I mean? If you're in your sophomore recruiting cycle year already where you're going to be asked to make decisions on June 15th, if you're relying on college showcase at your club, you're not getting enough information. Okay, it's almost too late for you to see the trailer and then get to a camp in that short amount of time. So I think it's really, really important. Probably that freshman year, that year before, that's when you really want to hit your club college showcase. Make sure you're going to those, probably a couple different ones, and see a bunch of trailers. You know what I mean? Great way to get an idea of what a coach is going to be like in the gym, or how they communicate, or how they train, or their energy or vibe. I think that's probably the thing that comes across in those, more than tangible school experience, recruiting information. You know what I mean? We don't get that same thing, but it will give you an idea. So I do think there's some benefit to that, probably earlier. And then if it's my sophomore year leading into my junior year, where I'm going to have to make a decision leading into June 15th, I'm going to college camps. Like, this is not just about me going to A, B, and C because they're big names. Like, by that point, I need to know, like, who's legitimately interested in me versus the name that has sent me a couple emails. You know what I mean? And I need to know what I'm looking for, so that when I get on those campuses, those 3 camps that I get to go to, maybe 4 camps, I know what I'm looking for to check my boxes to, like, yes, this is a good fit. No, this isn't a good fit. And because I'm going to have to make decisions on just a short amount of time and limited information. So how can you get as much as you can in that space and keep it organized? But if you're just broad strokes going, I'm going to hit 6 different camps because they all sent me one thing one time, like, I don't know if that's the best use of your time either. That's where I'll start, and then we can pause and we can talk about all the things that I just rambled about for 5 minutes.
So let's kind of pull a thread on the club college showcase younger. What are some of the things an athlete should think about when selecting one of the many options that are out there for a club showcase?
So location is your first one, right? Coaches are coming from all over. So you want to have, like, go to what you can easily get to. Most of the time you would go to your own clubs, but if there's another club that is a big name that's 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away, whatever, like that, I would definitely go to theirs too. You know what I mean? Like, they are not allowed to run private. They have to open it to the public. So look for those opportunities to go to the big name club in your area if you aren't playing for that club, because they generally get the highest level coaches, highest whatever, P4, Division I, like that kind of thing. I think that is probably the best play. The other piece to it is the club marketing piece. So a lot of times they're going to release prior to that camp, a week or 2 in advance, who all is going to be at those camps. I would be surveying any of those camps within a 2-hour span that has the schools that I'm interested in. And if you see them on the marketing keys or Instagram posts, whatever that they set out, I'm going to try and hit that one so I can see the trailer and make sure everything is what I would need it to be. So I think that would be my initial advice for those pieces.
And I think it's really interesting too, because when you're younger, the expectation of them knowing, like, what they're looking for is not as high, right? If you're 8th grade, 9th grade, like, hey, this is what I want to major in. This is how far I want to be from school. And, like, those are all things that you're probably thinking more towards your end of your sophomore, your junior, obviously in your senior year, we'd be making decisions. But Frank, from a club perspective, how are you, developing and coaching and just giving advice to some of those younger kids as they're going through some of these club showcases on, like, hey, these types of schools are here, or this is a type of facility that's running a good showcase?
Yeah, I think we did a recruiting episode early on in our podcast journey, and we shifted from having outside recruiting support to now in-house recruiting support. So we've hired a full-time recruiting coordinator, and that has been, I should have done that a long time ago. And that's been a game changer for the couple kids who in our club find themselves in that situation, who are going to actually be impacted by June 15th. And that's because we're in a smaller club, smaller market. I would assume if you're in a bigger market and you have most of your 16s in that same June 15th situation where there's going to be calls and decisions that have to be made, it's kind of all the things that Mark just talked about, like not making sure that the kid, they have their dream schools, but that they keep their net pretty wide.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things can change. And now there's a lot of parallels to club and how kids are getting onto club teams. And I think that's a great way to talk about it with the kid. Like, hey, like this June 15th and deadlines and the time you might have to make a decision is going to be pretty similar to how it's worked for you in club. And I think, I don't know that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just like what it is. And just educating them and staying on top of them and having honest conversations with them and making sure that they don't put themselves in a situation where they don't have a lot of backup options,
Yeah.
and asking a lot of what ifs, like if this happens, what would, just being prepared for those what ifs, I think.
Yeah, I think we need to have a plan A through like F when it comes to your recruiting in June 15th, because if you are a kid that's going to be forced to decide in that first week, there's a lot of moving parts and variables that are completely out of your control that you're going to have to adapt to on the fly. Of maybe your timeline gets super rushed because the next phone call that they make is to another kid that they're going to offer. It's just like that's the nature of the beast right now. Programs have to look out for themselves and adhere. Like we have to secure our future because my job and livelihood are attached to it, right? I have a little bit higher stakes than maybe the club space. Like, I don't know if your kid doesn't get recruited or doesn't go as high as they think they should if your job is necessarily in danger for that. Whereas if we miss on a class, and we have 2 bad seasons because that class didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, that's my job.
Yeah.
So we're at the college space, we're looking out for ourselves, as selfish as it sounds, but like this is the nature of the beast that we're in right now.
That makes perfect sense. And so let's start kind of in that club showcase. We talked about how you prepare, how you identify. What about after the camp is done, that post reflection? And I think sometimes athletes, especially younger athletes, will go to camps. I mean, all athletes really. They'll go to camp. They had a lot of fun. They had the trailer, or they went to a college camp. But are you sitting down with those people that are in your circle of trust and saying, hey, what happened during that 2-3 days, right? What was impactful? What was memorable? What was good? What was bad? What are the pros? What was the cons? I think even more so in the club showcase, because again, you might see 5-6 different trailers based on those programs that are there. Like ensuring that you're in the moment and having some reflection on that. Talk about that.
I feel like reflection, and I would equate this to intentionality. I think that's my buzzword all around volleyball right now. As you progress into the college spaces, like you have to be intentional with everything that you do. So if I'm going to a college showcase and I have a connection with, let's say, 3 coaches at that, as soon as that's done, I'm going to file that away in my little recruiting journal that I probably have of like, I really liked this, and this coach, and I liked these things. And if all those things are kind of similar, now you have a basis for the type of coach that you want to look for.
Right.
And you can lead your questions and recruiting emails and stuff a little bit differently, because now I know I'm looking for this type of coaching experience for me. So I think all that's good. I think if you want a more meaningful relationship to come from that like showcase experience, you need to follow up with an email, and then you need to come to camp. You know what I mean? You need to get on campus. That shows a level of investment in us that makes me more comfortable to offer you on June 15th when that comes around. I'll say for us, over the last 3 years, we've maybe had 1 kid that we ended up offering and commit that did not come to a camp, because like there's nothing better than that check right before June 15th, like an in-person eye test that you are who I think you are, your values are they adhere to our program. You know what I mean? Like nothing is a substitute for that in-person interaction right before decisions have to be made.
Right. And I think I just want to call out, you made a really good point on, it's not always about the who, it can be about the who. Like, hey, Iowa State, this is the who, and I really liked Iowa State and Mark. But there's also a lot to be said, especially when you're just kind of learning about what you want your volleyball career to look like, of the traits of a program or a traits of a coach, and then file those away, because again, that's broader. Now you're learning about yourself and understanding what gravitates to you. Then you can look for those things in other people. And I think that's a good tool to help manage the, 1,000 programs that are out there for you to choose from.
And on top of the other things, like what do you want to study? If you already know something that's super specific, like that should be a thing too. If you want to be a certain part of the country, that's definitely a thing, on top of the other things that I think help filter on top of what kind of coach you want to be around.
I think those are the things that need a little bit more investment. I'll say, like, over the last couple of years of phone calls around that June 15th, like, hasn't been a ton of external thought about non-volleyball related things. Like, I'm not saying you need to know what you want to do with your life at 16. That's ridiculous. I definitely didn't think I was going to be a college volleyball coach at 16. So life changes and you grow, and as you learn more about yourself, you're going to figure it out. But I do think the geography, the on-campus experience, what is going to a sporting event feel like? Does that matter to me? What other things are there on campus that I might be interested in? Do they have a line to the grad program that I'm trying to get to? There are some other important stuff, not necessarily directly related to academics, that I think need to be examined, right? We always talk about it as a puzzle, right? And all these pieces are going to fit together to make the decision that you make. And you should get a clear image once all those pieces fit. But you need to know what those pieces are, like what matters to you. And that's an important deep dive that I think you can start to explore through self from a college showcase when you're young, when you're early in your process. That's a good intro to that process. Start learning about yourself and what really matters to you. And as you go, explore different things different types of schools, so you can learn about yourself and be like, ooh, I did not really like that small college town feel. I want to be in a metro area or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think that's an important investigative piece through this whole process.
Yeah. Some things are constants, right? Yeah. They'll never change regardless. The program changes, the coaches flip over, the teams come in and out. You're not going to change the size of Des Moines. You're not going to change the size of Ames or Davenport. It is what it is, right? You're not going to in most cases you're not going to change the level of schooling and the programs and the level of programs that they are nationally, right? That one school's really good at engineering or nursing or education. Those are things that are ingrained and constant. So to your point, you can start really formulating your pool away from 1,000 schools into now a couple hundred, then you continue to dwindle that down to your population.
I think the first easiest narrowing device is location, distance from home. And I think without knowing exactly how far you want to go, I think you can tell if you are a homebody or you like to explore. You know what I mean? And there are some homebodies that I think need to explore for their personal growth. So some self-examination in that, but an easy way to get from 1,000 down to a couple hundred is set your radius
right
within a 3-hour span or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Whatever your comfort level is at that time, whatever your comfort level is for distance, I would urge you to push that an hour further away. It's can we be a little outside our comfort zone and still be happy and still get the things that we need without closing off too many options early on in your process?
I always when I talk to kids in camp and things like that, and just kind of talking about the recruiting process and not about recruiting them, but just helping them out. I always say, all right, drive or fly, same time zone or coast to coast. You do simple questions that I think you can help your athletes if you're a club or a parent, club director, club coach or parent out there. Ask them simple questions.
Yeah.
Because if you ask them how far you want to go, then it's I don't know. I don't really know.
I do think that role as a club director is important to push out some of that information. Like if you're in a rural area and the closest airport is an hour away, and then you have to connect to wherever you're trying to go, suddenly your parents coming to visit you or you getting home becomes pretty hard. And that's an important thing to think about, even if it's only like a 7-hour away. If you were to drive, like if we are to fly, what does that look like? I think talking through that piece is an important thing. And if you're in a metro area where you have a hub that can get you
Much easier.
directs anywhere, the ease of access to you for your parents or vice versa becomes like, that's a easy piece. Now my radius is way further because of ease of access. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally agree. I want to shift the conversation because there's a third choice in June that we haven't talked about, but it's real. And it's between, hey, collegiate camp and showcase, and hey, I still have a club team that's preparing for some national type tournament, right? Whatever the national tournament is. So Frank, can talk about how, clubs and teams are weighing team success and team expectations with a player's future, for players' recruitment, or those players, drive to understand what they want to do.
I mean, we're all different. Like the Texas clubs, they already are done with tryouts. They already have their team set for next year, and they're rolling to nationals with a team of girls that they already know, and it's already been finalized, and the players already know that this team's gonna be different next year. Tryouts already done. Like, that's crazy. That's a whole different way you treat June and how you maybe treat nationals. I would love to talk to a Texas director and be like, how do you guys treat nationals? Are you guys trying to place as high as you can, or is it more just like a celebration because now this is the end of that team and you're going into a new team next year? For us, it's like you get the opportunity to qualify for nationals. Like, you did the hard part, and now nationals is make it what you can. For the kids who are still unsigned, there's still a huge opportunity for them to get more exposure.
Oh, yeah.
But like, if you're an elite club, your job is to handle your individual athlete and try to handle their needs and elevate them into a different space because they're at your club. So if you're telling them they can't do it, if you're telling them they can't go to a college camp because they need to be at club practice, you're not really understanding the landscape now. You're not really elevating their opportunity to play at the next level, and that means your club is really not a huge difference maker, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me, that's like the goals of the club are not aligned with the goals of that athlete
And the
the
landscape today.
And what we have to do from a timing perspective. Like, the windows are just so small.
And it didn't used to be like that.
It did not. It used to be a little bit easier,
So,
at least to gain information about schools, about programs, about athletes back and forth. Like, all of that was easier. Once the June 15th contact became a thing, it became harder. And then as club season gets longer, NCAA pushes start dates earlier, right? That window just keeps shrinking and shrinking, but the importance of it is still paramount. It's still really, really important, but now I have a smaller window to do it. So if you're getting club pressure to not do that to prep for nationals, like, that is very conflicting, because you're probably in a really good club program and that training is valuable, but is it getting you to not getting to college, right? Because you can 100% not go to any of those college camps and still get a scholarship, still make a college team. Like, all that is still on the table.
But you're definitely not doing what athletes who are similar to you are doing.
Yes, and I don't know that you're not getting enough information to make the best decision for you.
Yeah.
It probably, you know what I mean? Every case is different, but for the most part, like, if I'm not on that campus and I don't see that campus, on our end, it's hard to even accept your commitment at that point. It's like, do you really know what you're signing up for?
Yeah.
Like, we like you from the research we've done, but like, how much have you really done, and how can we know that?
Yeah, I that's where I'm at. I feel like if you're a club not really allowing for that space for an athlete to go do those camps, then I just don't think you're doing the best thing for the kid in that situation.
So, I agree with you. I think so. How
especially,
can you,
especially if it's someone who like is maybe a school's backup plan.
Sure.
You know, like if you have the top 5 player in the country, that girl is probably calling the shots, right? I mean,
Right.
like she can do whatever she
Her
wants.
agent is going to handle most
Yeah,
of it.
so
It's not
like
gonna be a big
she can
deal.
go, she can stay at club practice probably, right? But like if you're a kid that's like kind of in that area of having a lot of potential different fits, like you need to go to those camps. And that was like what I was talking about earlier. The parallels to I think club is like it's like not going to a club tryout and just telling them to place you on a team, or not getting to go to that gym for the first time and seeing how they run a tryout, how they run practices, where the coach is like, you're just kind of going in with blind information. And those are some of the parallels I see now between kids signing up into the club and figuring out what team they're going to be on, and the parallels to how they're going to handle, you know, their college decision.
and I think, I think this is just a lot of truth bombs, because I think they're on a club team, especially a club team that isn't in a large metropolitan area, and then you have, 8 kids or 9 kids or 10 kids that are all blue chippers, all on one team. And you have, hey, I have one blue chipper. I have one kid that's going to go P4. One's going to be 2 that are going to mid majors, 4 that might go through NEI through D2, and then 2 that just there because they want to keep continuing to play with their friends.
Yeah.
And I think setting the right expectation of this period in June that we continue to talk about, that everybody's going to be different. And the kids that are not going to go to college camp because they're not invited, or not going to go to showcases because they know they're going to go to nursing and they're going to go to the school regardless of what everything else is. That their expectation of the team's involvement during this period has to be that everyone's going to make sure that they're taken care of because the window is so small.
Yeah.
But I think from a club perspective, you also have the obligation to the team because the club season is not over yet.
Yeah, parents are still paying for what's coming in 2 weeks to go to nationals.
Exactly right.
100%. But like, what a great way to break up the year, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you know that's coming, then June's more of your heavy positional month, and you should have enough. If you're in your own gym space, you should have enough gym flexibility now. Where only the national teams are practicing. So like,
Sure,
if
everybody else is done.
you can move a practice. Like if you're trying to make it work so that you can benefit those kids and get your team practices in, and maybe also throw in some positionals on the nights where it's just really tough because everyone's traveling for camps. Like, if you have your own space, you should be able to accomplish that. There's not a whole lot going on right now. Like we're doing some camps and clinics, but like
Right.
if our Mizuno teams or our top teams want to go get a team practice in, we'll find a different day for that.
Right.
No one else is going, for us.
And I think that's what's important, right? Is that for clubs, be planful. Understand that this period is extremely important for a multitude of reasons for your athletes, and it's really your expectation of the athlete on you as a club to support them in those things, while also ensuring that the club has set up for success for things that they're looking for in postseason play.
For sure.
So, but with what I see a lot, especially in smaller clubs, is I have practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays or whatever it might be, and throughout that June, it's the same thing. So I'm going to be here. That then becomes very disjointed. But if you're very planful, communicative with your athletes, understanding what their expectations are, understanding where they're going to be in their availability, you can, to your point, Frank, move things around so you have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, very possible. And it's like going back to like just understand as club directors, understand the landscape. Get an in-house recruiting coordinator, 100%. Because then you have all that stuff, you have all that data, early. You know the situations right away.
True.
I guess the real question for club directors who want to better understand the landscape and how much it changes from year to year, what would you say is the best way they can do that? Do they just straight up ask college coaches, like, hey, like, what can we do better? What do we need to do better month to month? I think that's the hard part for maybe younger club directors is like, I didn't know any better. I had no idea that June was this crazy,
As intense that it is. Talk to your local colleges. Any college that comes to a practice to watch a kid, like, I think just having an idea of what a yearly calendar looks like from the recruiting perspective is really important. When it's going to get intense, when they can breathe off. But I think once you have an idea of that calendar, it becomes a little bit easier to block your training sessions. I'm going to accomplish these goals in these first 3 months, whatever. And then if I know that June is going to turn into mostly positional stuff leading into nationals, I need to know, Like, what are the little skills and things are we going to try and add from that individual skill perspective for those 3 weeks? And I'm probably not getting a ton of teamwork, system rotations, like that kind of stuff. But luckily, you have all of May where we're not going to tournaments and coaches can't recruit. So those camps aren't happening. Like, I would deep dive my team system, national prep, like that's in May. And maybe you hit a pre-national tournament at the end of May, and then they get to go do camp stuff, and we're going to make you better at 1 or 2 skills. We're going to come together, maybe have 1 or 2 team practices before we get to nationals. As like, we got what we want as a team. I made you better as an individual here. We should all feel confident going into that space. But if you're trying to backload team practices to get your system work in and feel good about rotations right before nationals, like, your window is too small. And I don't know that your kids are getting what they need for what's next.
Totally agreed.
So as we close this out, anything else you want to bring up from questions from our fandom out there?
I haven't talked about any negative ramifications of this crunch window, but it's something that I do think about a lot.
Yeah.
It's the impact on an athlete's body. If they're going to 4+ college camps or showcases, those are long days, high intense. Most of the time there's travel involved. If you string a couple of those back to back and you're gone 7 days straight between flights and camps and whatever, like, that wears on your body. It wears on your immune system. When I'm gone for a week, when I come home, I get sick. That's how being old works now. But like, that's a real thing that you need to be thinking about leading into those nationals. Can I get the rest I need so I'm at a good, maybe not at 100%, because I don't know that by this point in the year anybody's at 100%, but what do I need to do to make sure that I am performing 100% of the 85% that I'm left at right now? And that can be hard if you're getting the attention from a lot of places and feel like you need to go to them to get that. I think the flip side of that is clubs need to be understanding that, like, this kid's been on a national tear right now, going to 5 camps. She's been gone a week and a half. She doesn't not need to come to practice. She needs to rest. If you want her to perform at nationals, the rest is more important than these extra swings that she gets or the extra passes next to her libero because they pass next to each other in 3 rows. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to perform. She's been getting trained by college coaches all over the country. They're saying things different but the same as you are. Maybe something clicked. Maybe she comes back to you way better because she figured something out at one of those camps.
Right.
You just got to let it happen.
I have a social media question for you. So, does it mean something to you guys when a kid goes to camp, takes a picture with all the coaches, shouts you out on Instagram? Does that mean something? And then does it mean something when they go to another school? She's on your board. She goes to another school, does the same thing. Is that like intel that changes anything positively or negatively?
I don't think it changes anything. Information is gold.
So now it's like, oh, that school's
so I
interested.
know, I know that you have a small window. So if you go to a camp, you're interested in that program. A lot of times when we talk to recruiting coordinators, I'm not asking what other schools is she looking at. That's not my business necessarily. And I don't know that it's recruiting coordinators' obligation to tell me who I'm competing against as well. I think that leads to more negative recruiting than that's not something I personally believe in. Like, I'll compete against whoever, but I'm not going to badmouth your program to make mine look better. Like that, I've refused to do that. These are my peers. These are people that I work with and see all the time. Like, I'm not getting into that business at all. But when they do post the social that they went to the camp, like, leading into June 15th, I know we're going to compete against these 3 schools because that's who they went to camp with. That's just information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily move the needle. very rarely am I going to do the research to see who she's going to be following at that other school and how it might impact her playing time or whatever, or if it's a better fit, not. I think when we miss on a kid or a kid chooses somewhere over us, then I'll do a little bit more of that deep dive. It's like, okay, can I lock down the reason why they made that decision over, and is that something I can control?
Right.
It just, that reflection piece, that intentionality piece is goes both ways, right? It's we're doing it on our end as well as the athletes on theirs.
That seems like a trend that has like picked up in the last couple of years. Like the post camp picks.
It's just for the gram.
Yeah,
like,
it's the
not,
clickbait.
yeah.
But I do wonder like if it ever puts kids in a bad spot doing it.
I personally cannot think of an example where it has negatively impacted a kid.
Yeah, for you guys.
For us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Cool.
Well, I mean, June is a pretty important month, and I think there's a lot going on. And I think thanks for the question and the topic, because I think it was a really timely one. That when this gets dropped, but I think that the focus is, hey, every athlete needs to be really authentic with what's best for them at that moment, right? If you're younger, you're still building your net and your scope. If you're older and you're approaching that deadline, how can you really get that hands-on experience to make a very highly educated decision when that decisions come? And then from everybody else in a club perspective, balance. How do you balance ensuring that you are doing your obligation and expectation of ensuring you're setting the athletes up for success during this period of time, but also, training those that aren't going, building a plan for nationals so that you can go and have a celebratory end of your season. Mm-hmm. You can do all of those things, can all happen as long as you're planful and understand what's happening in front of you. So keep the topics coming, because I feel like those topics that are coming from our fans and our listeners out there really are the ones that like really hit home with us. We're like, oh, wow, that was so obvious. Why didn't we think about that on ourselves? Sometimes it's just too close to the program. So with that being said, until next time, Blockheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Triple Blockheads. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode.